Hey, everybody. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Kathy, how are you, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
Just couldn't be better.
Couldn't be
Thanks.
better. So
Appreciate you
I don't
having me
know.
on.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you on here. And I don't know what I've done with my setting, but obviously we're going to be right on camera today. So we want to show our beautiful faces anyway, don't we?
Up close and personal.
We're going to be up close and personal. That's
It's
right.
all good. I'm
Yeah.
not normally this close to my camera on a Zoom, but
I know. I know.
should
I
have
don't
shaved a
know.
little better today too.
Oh, you look awesome like always.
Thank you.
Well, hey, thanks so much for being on today. I'm excited to talk with you and have you share some of your wisdom with everybody. I mean, you've been in this industry for a little bit now, like myself, and you've done some things at a high level. So I'm excited to chat with you. So why don't we just start there, Tim? Why don't you just maybe give us a highlight of your real estate career?
Oh, the highlight?
A highlight overview.
Wow. Um, well, I started out almost 21 years ago. Um, Started at a franchise brokerage called ERA. Was there for 7 or 8 years. Didn't know any better. Didn't know about splits, higher splits and caps and all that. And was recruited by a ReMax broker and ultimately left the broker that I loved. It wasn't personal. It was just business, obviously, but went to ReMax and I liked the brand and quite frankly left there because I wanted to have my own brokerage and basically have all of the commission instead of 95% of it at the time. But so yeah, I bought my own ReMax franchise. I think that was 2011, something like that. Grew that business to the third largest ReMax in the Louisville, Kentucky market, and was doing very well with it. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you a bit of a personal story that kind of
Yes.
leads to why I chose to be at EXP today. But 2013, and you'll see the relevance. So this is going to be personal. It's going to be like, why is he telling this story? But you'll see the relevance here in a minute. But 2013, I had a quadruple bypass. It was unexpected. I worked out every morning at the YMCA. I had no heart disease in my family. I had no high cholesterol. Never smoked. None of the things that would normally lead you to believe that someone that has that problem, how they get there, had none of that. I'm a Christian man, and I honestly thought the good Lord was calling me home because there was no physical reason I should have been in that situation.
Wow.
So fast forward a couple of days, I made it through that surgery, and my cardiologist said, "Yeah, Tim, you were 80% blocked in all four arteries. If you hadn't have noticed this at the gym when you were on the elliptical every morning, you'd have died in your recliner watching television."
Oh my.
Yeah. And obviously that was a life-changing moment, a moment I hope none of our viewers ever experience. And that one happened to be about me, but people go through hard times. In fact, I know Steve had a
Yeah, I
similar
mean,
situation in 2020.
that's right.
But my point in telling the story is we never know what life's going to deal us. We have to play the cards that we're dealt, but we really don't know. And so that was a life-changing moment. I owned the ReMax brokerage at the time. And it's funny, not really funny, but 4 or 5 months later, January of 2014, we're sitting in church and the sermon series was entitled Simplify. And that spoke to me. 6-week series. I bought the book. I read it. And I'm like, all right, God's talked to me twice now about making changes in my life. I probably ought to listen. So prayed about it and ultimately said, well, you can simplify life by just eliminating a lot of debt. So we decided to sell the ReMax franchise. And never had intended to do that. It was kind of a, what if we did that? It's going to probably generate about this amount of money. That'll pay off some of this debt and so forth. And obviously, I never felt stressed as the broker owner of a ReMax franchise in 2 states. And in fact, I loved what I did. I still love to help agents and teach and coach, counsel, mentor agents. It's basically what I do every day. But selling the brokerage got us debt-free, and being debt-free eliminates a lot of financial stress. So that was the logic behind the sale. So that's what I did. And I was going to work for the new owners of the the ReMax baby that I birthed for many, many years and had no intention of ever leaving.
And
And
you
a friend
did
of
that.
mine,
Yeah, you did that for a little bit. So I want to
yeah,
hear more of that story, and kind of like, I want to come back to that story. But before we go there, I want to we have a lot of agents that listen to to this that are going to be on. Some are new, some are experienced. So, one question that I want to ask is, if you were a new agent, what would you do differently if you knew what you know now, 21 years later? What would you do differently starting out your business? And secondary, so it's a two-part question. Secondarily, what advice do you have to give to new agents?
wow, that's tough. That was so long ago. I've often wished I had written down every day everything I learned and wrote a book, because we learn so much in the industry. Every day we learn something, and if you're not learning, you're dying. But so, what would I do differently? Um, I would have joined EXP a lot sooner. I tell you that. But that's not necessarily about new agents. Oh, there,
I
all of a
don't
sudden
know
the
what
cameras
happened. That was a
went back.
magic, but
Gremlins. Um, I've always subscribed to two theories, good or bad. It's what made me who I am. One is you've got to spend money to make money,
yeah.
and the other is the higher the risk, the greater the return. So I've been
Mhm.
a risk taker. I've been a spender from a marketing standpoint in real estate to generate more business faster. Um, Now, a new agent can't necessarily do that. I couldn't do it. When I was a new agent, I was also a professional home remodeler, builder, and so forth. So I stepped into real estate with one toe in the water until I started getting so busy on the real estate side. Then I gave everything else up and went full time. I only did that for a couple of years. But um, I would say, as a new agent, find the marketing things you can do for free if you don't have the
Mhm.
money to spend on paid marketing, paid advertising. But if you do, create a budget and stick to it, and then just follow up, follow up, follow up. That's something I never did a great job at. And in fact, probably my biggest weakness in the real estate market is my past clients. I
Oh
love
my
them all.
goodness, yes.
They see me on social media, but I've never had a phenomenal stay in touch strategy. I've always gone fishing for the new fish and brought it into the boat, and instead of taking care of the ones that were already in the boat. Sort of a terrible analogy, but so I would say start off with a system that allows you to do that for sure.
I 100% agree. I say that the two things I say all the time is you got to go shake the trees. People aren't
Yep.
going to just flock into your boat, using that boat analogy. They're not going to just be dropping out the sky. And I think a lot of times agents get into this business and they don't realize they are starting a business and that
Mm-hmm.
they've got to go make things happen. So I use that term, shaking the trees, all the time. But then, same thing you just said, I feel like that's been a weakness of mine, is really staying in touch, and quite honestly of our industry, just staying in touch with those, past clients as much as we should. I mean,
Sure.
I'm sure yourself, like myself, like I make, we have such a good relationship through the transaction most of the time, and really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy 99.9% of, the client and the transaction and everything. And then it is just, sad. It's something that I feel like I've not done the best job either. So, I'd
Mm-hmm.
agree, get a database and work the database, from
Absolutely.
client one forward. It will, I would say, when you look back after 5 years or 10 years in the business, that will be the single best thing that you could have ever done. So let's kind of talk about, I mean, for the first time, in a little while, we're in the shifting market. We've been
Mm-hmm.
in this crazy abnormal market for the last couple of years, right? And
Right.
now we're in a shifting market, and a lot of agents have not been ever in a shifting market that are agents now, because we haven't seen much of a shifting market for the last 12 years or so, after the 2008, 9, 10 type situation. Haven't really seen a big shift, and I don't know, none of us have that crystal ball of what kind of shift we're headed for. But we're definitely in the last couple of months starting to see a shift. So
Mm-hmm.
what advice do you have, for agents that have not ever been through one? as we start to transition into a shift, whatever that may end up being?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I went through the recession in the '07, '08, some of '09 timeframe.
Yeah.
And while I personally don't believe we're in a recession, at least the real estate market,
Yeah.
I think you use the term a shifting market. Yeah, it's different. I always use the analogy. There's a pendulum and it swings both ways, and it goes out to an extreme and then it starts swinging back, goes to the other extreme. That's what we're seeing. The last 2 years we've been on an extreme,
Yeah.
and now we're somewhere in the middle. And I don't know how far the other direction the pendulum will ultimately shift to. But the answer to your question is, unfortunately, the agents that don't take this business seriously, and there's a lot of them,
Yes.
and I mean no disrespect to anybody, but there's going to be a bunch of agents that sit on the sidelines and complain about the market rather than do something about it.
Yes.
I grew my business every year from '06, '07, '08, '09, 10, 11, et cetera, during the recession as if it never happened. In fact, and again, I don't believe we're in a recession, but when it's a difficult, more difficult year, those are some of the best times to go all in and really grow.
Yeah.
So I would say, and again, kind of toggling on your first question about the new agent, even the experienced agent at this point,
Yeah.
they need to hit their database really, really hard when they may not have to put all the time into showing properties and listing properties. The market's definitely down a little bit, but people still have to sell homes. You might start looking at other niche markets like probate work and estate work, because, like it or not, people still pass away. And those that are remaining, in many cases, still have to have home sales for a terrible reason, but they still need a professional real estate agent to handle that transaction. So it's a good time to really get focused. And if you can't find a niche you really like, then you definitely need to double down on your advertising and put yourself out there, because when the market comes back, you're going to be the agent they know, not the agent that sat and whined on the sidelines because the market was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Talking about estates, the last 2 out of 3 deals I've done were the estate sales. And those require a little bit different skill, or a little bit, maybe I should, a little bit different, additional knowledge, right? To know how to do that. Just like the probate that you mentioned, it's get good at 1 or 2 things that you really know well, so that you can walk people, through that. So I think having a niche specialty, some people, they specialize in divorce in real estate, whether we like, again, kind of like the estate situation, whether we like it or not, sadly, 50% of people end up in divorce. Right. And, again, having done many of those over my career, there's a different or an additional skill level and skill set and of things that you have to help clients maneuver through when they're, dividing households and things like that. So.
Right. Well, you have to be a ton more empathetic too in a situation of estate or probate work.
Yeah, exactly. So Tim, do you work as a solo agent? Are you a team? How have you done your business? I mean, you were, when you were at ReMax, we talked about you were a diamond earner, which is, the top of the top within the ReMax franchise. And, that's $1 million in gross commissions a year. I mean, every agent only aspires to ever be able to have production that way. So I'm assuming that you had a team. That's about near impossible to do as a solo. So is that correct?
Yeah, I built my first team probably 4 years into the business. And, quite honestly, it's because most individual real estate agents don't have a life. You work from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week with very little exception or time off. And your spouse and your kids complain about that. And it's a tough gig. And I don't think we do a good enough job talking about that to the new agent, because sometimes I think we make it look easy because all they see is sold this house in 2 days and they see dollar signs and, not knowing what happened, the 90 to 180 days prior to that. But
how many tears we've shed, maybe not you, maybe not the guys, but the women are all, many of us through our careers have shed a lot of tears, And I take HGTV for a lot of that too. It's like, we show 3 houses, we drive fancy cars, and it's that easy.
Not like that at all.
No, not at all.
No, but my point was I built a team to have a life. I didn't care about building a team for the sake of making money off the team members. You know, that's some of the benefit of it, but there's also a lot of risk that you have owning a team that you don't have as an individual agent. But I chose to build a team because I wanted my nights and weekends back.
Yeah.
You know, I treated real estate like an 8 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, unless I decided, yeah, I want to go on that listing appointment at 7:30 Thursday night,
Yeah.
or I want to go on that listing appointment at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon when everybody else is home in the pool. Those are choices, business decisions, if you will. So that's why I built a team. It wasn't about the money side of it. It was just about getting control of your life and,
Trying to have control. I talk about, and I want to ask you another question about that with the team, but I talk about all the time when I'm talking to realtors and really just business people in general, the whole Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant, right? And in that, and he talks about there's 4 ways to make money. And, one way is a business owner, but which he says, you got to be leveraged, you got to have systems in place. And so when I read that book many, many years back, I was like, how do we really become business owners, right? Because he defines also a business owner, somebody who can leave their business for a year and the wheels not fall off the bus. The business just keeps running without them. It's not just depending on them. So I started thinking about, like I said, many years when I read that, I thought, well, really the only ways that we as agents can do that is build a team where it's not dependent on us, right? And or go open, an independent company or partner with a franchise like you did. You may or may not know, Steve and I actually looked at doing a ReMax franchise ourselves back in 2007. And thankfully, we were looking at places, we were looking, at locations and everything. We'd gotten pretty far down the road with it, but something told us just hold off. Like we just didn't pull the trigger. Obviously the next year, the market shifted. So we were so grateful that we didn't do that, because with that, as you well know, comes liability, risk, cost, overhead, and all that. But I want to go back. So, there's always been in the back of my mind, like, how do we build a business? Right. Based on what Kiyosaki talks about. And I want you to talk to that. But before, like talking about the team you built, you talked a little about why you built the team, the challenges you have as an individual agent, but what are some of the challenges that you have, when you built that team? And honestly, even when you built, the ReMax franchise, when you partnered with and had a ReMax franchise, what were some of the challenges with those two things?
Wow. I think that's about 13 questions if I count.
I'm sorry. All right, just go with the two. The challenges that you had with the team and the challenges that you had, with the ReMax franchise.
No, I'll bundle it up. I'll answer all 13.
Okay.
Let's go back to I built a team to have a life, and thank God I did. And when I go back to the heart surgery, what I hadn't told you yet is I was off work for 7 weeks. And an individual agent that's off for 7 weeks is out of business. That's true. I think that too is something. That's why I'm at EXP, honestly, because we get paid multiple ways for doing the same thing I used to do as a ReMax agent, a ReMax broker, a team leader. I didn't skip a beat. I had 6 agents on my team, 2 assistants. Nobody even knew I was gone other than they told my clients, Tim's not in. He's had some medical issues that he has to deal with, but we're here to pick up the pieces and move forward. And every single transaction closed. It closed on time. We never skipped a beat. We kept listing and selling more properties. It was like, this is pretty cool. Maybe I could retire someday, because again, that was a life-changing moment. Most agents, they have a hard enough time paying their quarterly estimate taxes, yet alone saving for retirement.
Yes.
And that's why, in part, I said, and that's quite frankly why I started telling you that personal story is I realized that if I don't make changes, I'm going to be on this treadmill of real estate sales where we're searching for the next buyer. Oop, that closed. I'm out of business again until I find the next buyer. Oop, that closed. That's what it's like. It's feast, famine, feast, famine, feast, famine.
That didn't close. The whole deal fell apart.
Yeah. Now I got to go find 2 buyers to make up for the one that didn't. And that can be stressful. So anyway, Hardest things, running a ReMax brokerage wasn't hard. I mean, I didn't find that problematic. I loved it. I was never not going to do that anymore until the heart issue. And then the sermon series spoke to me again. I said, yeah, you know what? There are a lot of risks associated with it. You buy a franchise, you pay tens of thousands of dollars for X number of years to rent that company's name, basically, is all you pretty much get for it. There were some systems, but I was way more technical from my prior background than most of the systems that I was provided through the franchise agreement. And you sign personal guarantees on leased office space, and the expense just goes on and on and on. When you have an office, you've got light bills and utility bills and taxes and insurance and copiers and faxes and phone systems and computer systems, and it just goes on and on and on. So,
and staff,
staff, I was required to have a warm body sitting at the front door just to handle the walk-in traffic that never walked in, that kind of thing. So, and being a tech person in my first 20 years professionally, I always saw what I envisioned as a better mousetrap. I just never had the time to build it like our founder, Glenn Sanford, did with DXP. But back to your other part of the question on a team, the struggles with the team is you have to keep them fed.
Yeah.
I tell agents and coach agents every day they say, oh, I want to build a team. I'm like, okay, I have only one question that you must answer the correct way, or I'm going to advise you not do it. And that is, do you have more leads than you can personally handle right now?
Yeah.
And most of them say no. Most of them just think, the next cool step is to build a team. I'm an individual agent. Now I want to be a team leader. Then I want to be a broker. And then I want to be a broker owner. It's kind of a logical progression that I used to see all the time. But most agents have no business building a team. Not only do they not have enough leads, but they've never run a business before. And that's what you've got to do. I did that. So I had an advantage as a team leader and even as an agent, because as an agent, we need to run our business like a business. And a lot of agents don't understand that. But that's probably the most difficult thing is, I came from an age where, I've been accustomed to buying leads and instead of fishing from my own ponds, because I didn't follow up with all those clients like I should have. I was always buying new leads, and my agents were eating off that plate. Yeah. And when the market softens, lead quantity and quality go down. And I felt a personal responsibility, and I still do to this day, a personal responsibility for every single agent on the team. So that can be stressful.
Yes.
So that's probably the most difficult thing is just the expense you incur to keep your people fed. Because I felt a responsibility not only for them, but for their family as well.
Yeah. So it's not, not only the expense. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not only the expense, but it is that pressure, like you said, keeping their family fed. So you've kind of, touched about EXP. And so what made you ultimately decide to partner yourself with EXP? And, in doing that, has it helped you in solving some of these problems that you've had?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's been nothing short of life-changing.
Yeah.
I got the call. I remember the day. It was December 14th,
wow.
2017.
Wow.
Friend of mine called me and said, Tim, I'm thinking about moving to this brokerage that I had never heard of. Would you help me evaluate it and make sure I'm not making the biggest mistake of my life? And I said, yeah, I'll take a look at it. Because actually I had some familiarity with it while I was birthing my ReMax franchise. I actually got a call from EXP, and I knew a little bit about it from the 2010, 2011 timeframe, because they were opening the state of Kentucky, and they asked me if I would consider applying to be the broker and open Kentucky for them. And I politely said, thank you, but no, thank you. And that's probably the biggest mistake of my life. Well, one of the biggest mistakes is not saying yes to that and gotten involved in the company when it was very, very, very small.
But it was still small in 17 when you came, ultimately.
I came in early 18, but you're right. There were 6,800 agents when I came to the company. And just a couple months later, I think we hit 10,000. Yeah. But anyway, that's Forgot the question.
Just that has it helped you, with some of these problems, and
Yeah.
that you had been the traditional ReMax owner and the traditional franchise model, and you had the team, and so when you made that move, did it help you with some of these problems?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
how?
did the evaluation for my friend, and I had signed a 3-year no compete when I sold the ReMax franchise, and I was nearing the end of that 3 years. And quite frankly, myself and the owners of the franchise, we were looking at every single real estate model out there, because I was trying to decide, what if they don't want me to keep running the brokerage? What if they let me go? What am I going to do? And, do we want to keep being a ReMax? Do we want to look at the other models? And because I was reintroduced to EXP during that process, I took a hard look at it on behalf of all of us at the time. And again, was never leaving. I was super happy with what I was doing. It kind of blindsided me. But when I saw the model, I first said, this is too good to be true. There's no way. And I'm a pretty detail oriented person. So I've really studied the crap out of it for the remainder of the term on my no compete. And at the end of it, I decided, I think we need to do this, but I have a team I'm responsible for. I talked to the team, and ultimately, make a very long story short, in a 90-minute meeting, my entire team decided unanimously via a vote to leave ReMax and come to EXP. And it's changed all of our lives. The specific answer to your question, though, is, and I kind of answered it before in a little bit, is because, we're paid multiple ways for doing the same job I used to do. Now, if I recruit an agent to EXP, I get paid for it. And before I didn't, I got a pat on the back or a $10 Starbucks card or a thank you. And because of what I had been through with my medical situation years prior, I wanted an exit strategy, which realtors typically don't have.
Yeah.
They got to keep staying on that treadmill, keep selling, keep selling houses to buyers, keep representing sellers for the rest of their life for reasons I said earlier. They don't save for retirement. And this company is the first really, really good model I've ever seen that had a retirement plan for agents, and has an insurance group discounted medical insurance policy for agents. So I came to EXP to build wealth through the stock, I'll talk about in a second, and through the residual income stream. Stock, we're an agent-owned, publicly traded company, as you know, but I saw a huge advantage of being able to participate in stock awards 4 ways. And a 5th way is not an award, but I can buy stock at a 10% discount using 5% of my commissions. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, that's accumulated 7-digit stock portfolio in the 4 years and 4 months I've been at EXP. I didn't have that.
I mean, that's amazing, just doing what you're doing, and then being able to buy it at a discount, and in 2020, some people know, like Steve and I sold a few shares. We'd accumulated a fair amount, not 7 figures, but we'd accumulated, and we decided to sell a few of those shares and pay off one of our rental houses. So that was huge. I mean, just that option that we have that as an additional way that we get compensated, is unheard of in our industry, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And in Steve's case, it eliminated a little bit of financial stress. Not that you were stressed over it, but, again, less debt, less stress. In my experience anyway.
Yeah.
And then just the ability to touch other agents' lives. I mean, I talk to agents all the time, and many of them just kind of shut the doors. So close-minded to looking at something that they really know nothing about.
Right.
When I first saw this company, and when I saw Keller Williams come into the business back in the late 80s, whenever it was, it's just another brand. No, it's different. ReMax was different in 1974.
Yeah.
They're the first company that came out with a totally revamped commission plan, and people that close their eyes to it, it's just like, man, I almost want to tell them, you're being fiscally irresponsible not to look at this model on behalf of your family for nothing else.
That's so good.
I came for stock and I came for residual income, and I still sell on occasion, but most of the sales I do, I give to my team members. So if any of my past clients are watching, we're still in business. I'm still here to help you. I like working with past clients, referrals, friends, and family. But all that new business, my team's handling, and some of those agents are better than I ever was. So, I mean, we're still delivering a high level quality service with the 7 of us. But I was able to get out of real estate sales production in October of 2019 because my residual income and my stock was paying me more than I was making in commissions every year. And that's been life changing. And that's why I'm at EXP.
That's awesome. That is life changing. You know, one thing I was thinking when you were talking is when you had your traditional, I keep saying traditional, when you had your ReMax office and you were the owner of the ReMax office, you know, you knew agents all over the place. But even if you had attracted them to the ReMax brand, if say they were, you know, in Indiana or some other state outside of, you know, the dot that you had your franchise on, you weren't getting any benefit from that, you know, and that is the one thing that I saw when I saw EXP myself, you know, back in, it was May of 2017. So it just passed 5 years, you know, we had 3,200 agents. I'd never heard of the company, kind of like you said, never even heard of it. But when I looked at the model, you know, I've been in the business a long time. I was like, man, if this model really it becomes something, it's going to change the landscape of real estate, and it's done that. But it was such a no-name company at the time. But I have always been an open-minded business person, and I thought, man, we should give this a shot. You know, I talked to Steve, we talked over it, prayed about it. I'm like, worst case scenario, at the end of 1 year, if this company isn't all it looks like it could be, go back. Like, you know, so for me, the fear of missing out on something, the fear of being in that place you were in 2017, when you look back at that call in 2010, right? You know, and you didn't take that jump back in 2010. And it, you know, may or may not have, you know, it was so different in 2010 than it was in 2017, even though it was still a small company, you know. But I thought, man, the fear of missing out of something that's the next, you know, industry changing brokerage, like, you know, was a bigger fear for us. So,
yeah. I tell the story all the time. EXP is like the Netflix to Blockbuster.
Yes.
The AOL to the Circuit City or the Toys R Us, who closed Amazon, their last brick and mortar store last year, and now they only sell via the internet. I mean, the entire world is moving towards technology, and if people don't get that, they're kind of under a rock.
Yeah, they're going to be left behind, aren't they? It doesn't matter where they're at, you know, what, I mean, you got to be up with it.
It's not to say the brick and mortar brokerages won't be around. There will be a place for them, but it's going to look really, really, really different than it does today. And they're starting to feel that squeeze right now because of this shift in the market that we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, Tim, I appreciate you so much being here. Are there any just final comments or thoughts that maybe we haven't covered or talked about that you want to share?
No, I love to pour into agents. If you're a new agent or an experienced agent that wants to build a team, or if any of our realtor friends out there can take advantage of my 20 years of experience or Kathy's 20 some years of experience, you know, feel free to reach out. I'm at a point in my life where I'm just trying to give back. And that's kind of the final chapter in the heart story. I lie in that hospital bed thinking I'm going to die. And I can remember thinking, I haven't done near what I had intended to do from a Christian standpoint, from a giving back, from an affecting and changing more lives. And that's what I do today. You know, when I don't sell real estate, because I don't anymore for the most part, I'm talking to other agents and blessing them with an opportunity they had no clue existed, because originally they had a closed mind. When they opened their mind and learned, they're like, oh my gosh, this looks too good to be true. I'm like, yeah, I thought the same thing. So, but my message is, check out EXP if you're an agent. You owe that to your family. But outside of that, call me if I can help you. I've seen a lot. I won't say I've seen it all, because I don't think there's an agent out there that could say that, but be more than happy to pour into any agent that's new or experienced alike, and just love to have the conversation and help any way I can.
Yeah, thank you. I thought I'd seen it all, so I don't know. Maybe I haven't. No. 24 years in, I thought I'd seen it all for sure. But, you know, and I have a similar story with Steve, like you mentioned, had that unexpected quadruple bypass, and you know, it was really through the blessing and that of EXP, you know, the fact that the way we get multiple streams, that I was able to take off, you know, 60, 70 days and not worry about it. And he and I have had so many conversations about, wow, if we really had to worry about the financial piece of it on top of the health, like, you know, just how much more difficult, you know, of a challenge that would be. So, you know, it's been life changing in a lot of ways. And you know, if, like Tim said, if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us, you know, whether it be about EXP or just real estate in general. We've both been around a long time, and you know, our numbers have been scrolling across the bottom here. And so, again, Tim, I thank you so much. You're just one of the best in the industry. And
thank you. You're very sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I deserve that, but thank you.
Oh no, you're awesome. You're awesome. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Well, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.